Okay. Well, hello, everybody. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Whether you're here in person or watching live via Facebook or YouTube, we welcome you tonight to help support democracy in the city of Oakley and become informed on who you want to vote for in this year's election for specifically District 5. I'm sure you've heard by now that both District 1 and District 3 elections for this year, but no one ran against the two current opponents. So you probably heard by now that our current Mayor Williams and future council member, as well as Council Member Meadows, were reappointed on August 21st to their position as City Council. So let's go ahead and acknowledge some of our dignitaries in the room. First off, I want to acknowledge Mayor Anessa Williams in the room. Thank you, Anessa. Next to her, Vice Mayor Shannon Shaw. Council Member Aaron Meadows. Council Member George Fuller. And Council Member Hugh Henderson. Also, some other dignitaries we have in the room with us tonight. We have from the Iron House Sanitary District Board Member Pete Zirkle. Iron House Sanitary District Board Member Don Morrow. And Iron House Sanitary District Board Member Angela Lowry. Oh, and Susan Morgan, sorry. With Iron House, so you were a safe seat, so that's why I didn't catch that. So welcome, Suzanne. All right, also, we have some of our Brentwood Chamber directors with us tonight that helped put this on. So I want to give a shout out to Cindy, Denise. Oh my goodness. The Oakley Chamber of Commerce, and I apologize. As I said this once before, I have dual citizenship both in Brentwood and Oakley. So maybe I should just move to Oakley and get it over with. There you go. Exactly. All right. So Cindy, Danielle, and Kathy, thank you much for helping tonight and getting this together. I would also like to thank the City of Oakley and their staff, especially our city manager, Mr. Josh McMurray, for helping and arranging for us to have this beautiful room tonight. As a matter of fact, I do know that there are some Oakley staff members here, so as a matter of fact, might get all the Oakley staff members to stand up for a second and be acknowledged for doing all the great things you do in our city of Oakley, keeping it running smoothly and making it happen. All right. Also, too, we realize there is another election that's happening here, another local election coming up on November 5th for the Iron House Sanitary District. And some of those candidates are here tonight. So I'm going to ask you, if you are running for the Iron House Sanitary District, please stand up one more time. Let people know who you are so that they can come and see you afterwards. And if they have any questions, say hello. Okay, let's get this forum started. We're hoping this will probably last about 60 to 70 minutes or so. And this is how the format will be. And our moderator will review it again when we get to that. So, just so everybody knows, each candidate will get a 2 to 3 minute opening statement. Each candidate will ask a series of questions. Each candidate will have a chance to answer. And then at the end, each candidate again will have an opportunity to do closing statement. Okay? With that, we have our timer, Mr. Dale. He will be showing you at the 30-second, the green slip. It says you have 30 seconds. Turn it over. You'll get the yellow sign when there's 15 seconds left. You know it's 15 seconds. And then you'll get the red sign saying it is time to stop. Okay? We want to remember that we want to be courteous, respectful. No comments out of turn. Is that this is not a debate. It is just a forum questions. Okay. So at this time, I would like to turn this over to my good friend and our senior moderator, Dr. Paul.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Greg. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2024 City of Brentwood District 5 Candidate Forum. My name is Dr. Loan Hall. I am a retired pediatric dentist, and I was in business here in East County for about 25 years. I live in Brentwood, but I am outside the city limits, so I have no dog in the race. So it is my honor to serve as your moderator. And as we heard, we will be live streaming on Facebook under Brentwood Press, Hometown News. Please silence your cell phones, and you will be able to review this even on YouTube possibly afterwards. So we're here tonight to discuss some key issues facing our community and to hear from the candidates for City Council. And they will share their plans and their visions for Oakley's future. So before we begin, I'd like to outline the format for this evening's forum. First, each candidate will have up to 3 minutes to give an opening statement. 2, we will then ask at least 8 questions of the candidates, and you will have up to 3 minutes to answer the questions. Each candidate will have the opportunity somewhere along the line to be the first to answer, so it's going to rotate. And 3, at the very end, each candidate will have another 2 to 3 minutes at the end to give a closing statement in reverse order of the opening statements. So far, everyone with us? Yes, awesome. So I'm going to kindly ask the participants to please adhere to the time limits and respect each other's opportunity to speak. So our goal today is to foster a respectful and informative discussion that benefits the members in our community. Thank you. Any questions? Okay, thank you. So we're going to start with our first candidate, and if you can give us an opening statement, which is candidate number 1, Oakley.
All right, good evening, neighbors. I'm Alexei, as was just introduced, and I'm very excited to be here tonight, especially because I'm reporting to you actually out of diaper duty, okay? Just 40 minutes ago, I was changing diapers for my 2-week-old daughter. I am, thank you. Yeah, that I'm so excited to raise in a beautiful community like Oakley, okay? 8 years ago, my wife and I, we were looking for a place to start building our family, growing it, right? And when we came to Oakley, I tell you, it was love at first sight. Actually, what made it so amazing to us is the incredible people, right, who live here. And during this election season, I had many opportunities to interact with my neighbors, people in District 5, who have a lot of different ideas, how the city could be. But one thing that overwhelmingly was said over and over from one house to another actually is how amazing Oakley is and what an incredible job we're doing, right? So not every city could be as fortunate, and I'll tell you this, the reason why the city is so incredible at doing what it's doing is because of its amazing staff, right? And I would say staff and city council as well as city commission, planning commissioners who are doing a lot for our city to make it amazing. So currently I'm serving as your chairman for the planning commission. I'm also president for Chamber of Commerce here in town, but to be very honest with you, I can't wait to start hopefully an opportunity to promote our city in a from the whole new level, right? As your future city council member. When you love something, and I tell you this, I love and care about Oakley, but you got to show it through your actions. To me, some of the key priorities I'd like to focus on as as a city council member would be, of course, support for the public safety. I think that's very, very important for any city. That's kind of the foundation of it all. Focus on bringing in amazing businesses and helping Oakley to become a place that will be a crown jewel of leisure for the Delta. And finally, there's a lot of big issues that we all are facing in our neighboring communities. I think it would be amazing to start working on regional collaboration, right? Because there's power in numbers, and I'll tell you this, I so cannot be more excited to start building this community together with you and representing you as your city council member.
Thank you so much, Alexi. Next. Our next candidate is Dr. George Fuller.
Okay. Is it working? Okay, yes. I'm Dr. George Fuller. It's always a pleasure to be here. I like coming to the community meetings. I have perfect attendance at the council. I was away 2 meetings on another one, but being here and opportunity to meet with the residents and hear what they have to say and interact with them. If you're interested in where the doctor came from, this is Dr. Registration at the University of San Francisco, which I finished up in May 2023. I'm here, I've been on the council for 4 years, and I've had the opportunity to work. If a lot of you remember, there was a lot of acrimony on the council when they said I'd never be elected. And in fact, nobody would be elected, and we now have 5 new council members, which is what we needed. We have a new city manager. And with that, I was able to work with others and work with them to consolidate our fire department. That was number 1. Absolutely number 1. Consolidate our fire department. Number 2, expand the police department. We've expanded up to, I think it's 47 officers, 42 officers. Where we were before was too far down in scale. We have Chief Spear sitting with us. I don't know if he was introduced, but he's sitting right over here. He's been the leader in our department. He came up from the ranks, and I'm very happy to see that. We got a planning commission. We expanded the roads. The roads are being expanded. We've done this during this time. We had the pandemic, and it was nice to be sitting in the leadership position to bring this community through the pandemic. We came through the pandemic. We're here. We're working, and that gives me a lot of pleasure to have it up here. So, but what does that mean now for the next 4 years? We've got to have a library. You'll see some of my other council members, they disagree with me, but I think the library has been shorted throughout the history of Oakley and has not been treated well. We must have a library. We say, well, we put a training plan in, that's going to build it downtown. I disagree. If we build the library, it's going to bring people downtown. With that, I want to represent our marginalized workers in the community, the trades, and that's what I want to close on. The trades that are in the community, we're not doing it, so we need to bring up the concept into it, working with the city manager and for project labor agreements. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next candidate is Christina Pena Langley.
Hi, I would first like to thank the press and the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event, as well as for being here. And, oh, you can't hear me?
Oh, sorry.
I can use my
Yes, everyone, it would help if you hold the mic about 1.5 inches from your mouth. 3 inches or 2 is too far. Thank you.
Sorry. Okay, a little bit about myself. I grew up in a small city right on the border in Del Rio, Texas. I moved here to California about 8 years ago. My husband was in the military, and we were looking for a safe place to come and live, and we found Oakley. As a mom and a teacher that works for the school district here, my #1 priority is public safety. Now, a lot of people might be wondering why I might be running for city council. I'm already a mom, I'm a Girl Scout leader, I help out with Association. I'm running so that way our community can be a great place. I have a vested interest in Oakley. Not only does my daughter go to school at the public school here in Delta Vista, I was brought up by my parents to give back to the community. And so I feel like there is a need to give back, and I want to make that commitment by making Oakley a better place to live, work, and raise a family. So that's what's driving my candidacy to run for city council. Um, Again, my number one priority, as others have stated, is public safety. I want to make sure that our residents are safe. That's my number one priority. I want to make sure that we have our local police and our fire services. Currently, right now, we have 35 sworn police officers with the exceptional leadership of Chief Beard, but I want to make sure that we have more police. We need to have at least one police officer per 1,000 residents in our city. And also, for those of you who don't know me, I'm big into having a clean community. I love to see our streets clean, and so I want to make sure that our streets and our parks and our neighborhoods are clean and well maintained. If I wasn't doing this right now, you would be seeing me at my community neighborhood cleaning up and picking up trash, because that's what I like to do. I want to support replacing the Vintage Parkway and O'Hara playgrounds. Even though that's not in my district, I am for the city. And so I want our city as a whole to be a beautiful place to live. I also want to increase social activities here in Oakley. Oakley has done a great job of having more concerts in the park and food truck Fridays, but I would like to see more of those activities for families to get together and know each other.
Thank you so much, Christina. And next, we will begin our series of questions. Our first question will start with Alexi. Another question. No one knows these questions ahead of time, I hope. The first question is, being a member of the City Council requires knowledge of local ordinances, state laws, and other legislation which can influence policy decisions. What knowledge and experience do you bring to the table that would qualify you for this role?
Thank you so much for this question. As kind of I briefly mentioned in my introductory statement, and I apologize, I was kind of going a little bit running off much, but look, the last 2 weeks I haven't seen people. You know, all I've been doing is changing diapers and seeing my little baby. So it's so great to have a full room of actually amazing neighbors here. So to answer your question, I'm currently serving as a chairman for the Planning Commission. Have done so for, I believe, 3+ years. You know, the last 2 years in the capacity of the chairman. It's been actually a very rewarding experience because it kind of gives you an opportunity to learn a lot about how city functions, right? Before that, actually, as I moved to Oakley, I mentioned to you, I hope you saw the passion that I have. Like, I wanted to give back instantly. So this city has an amazing program called City Academy, okay? That teaches you actually how city government functions. And not a lot of communities in California have this, but I tell you, what an incredible opportunity it is for everyone to learn, right? Because a lot of the times we have expectations for our city that are just unrealistic, and I believe it's very important to know what city can do as well as know your limits, right? What city can't do as well. So, City Academy, Planning Commission, and one of the other things that is super important for me, and I believe to any city, is economic development. From that standpoint, someone who helped to revive our Chamber of Commerce, dealing with, our businesses, right, big and small, I think that also brings a lot of kind of good experience that I can bring to, as a value added to this amazing team already that we have.
Thank you so much. See, next. Same question, George.
Yes, I feel a little short of having lived many decades. And where did you begin? It began in the Marine Corps, working in the General's headquarters during the Marine Corps Vietnam War. From there, I saw how the government worked and worked in the time of war and worked forward. I had communications with Vietnam and with the East Coast, so I went there. From there, I entered the Los Angeles Police Department, where I spent 22 years as a sergeant. You don't work in the police department unless you know the laws, you know the procedures, you know what's right, what's wrong. You have the moral turpitude, and that's reminded over and over again. I had a calling in special education, and if you want to see a mass or morass of regulations and laws and things of that nature, be my guest, but there is nothing always there that you have to deal with. I sat on the school board for 12 years in West Covina Unified School District. I sat on there for 12 years. Got to know the school district, got to know how the political scheme works up in Sacramento. It was during the time that we were having times reduced, so I got to know it. We're finishing up my special education degree into special education was to get further knowledge of special education, of disability, of where it goes. It was named my son died 11 years ago of Brown because of his disability. That's why I wanted my doctorate. So I can go on and continue on with my nonprofit to assist to assist disabled college students on the campus. So my whole life has been entrenched in some form of law or regulation or some form of interaction with the community on that. And where to the point I had to know it when you're on a police department, you just can't say it looks good. It's got to be good. It's got to be right. And that's trying over and over and over again. They don't even let you out and work in the street until you have 18 months. So I don't know, I guess I could go on. That's enough right there. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Christina, the same question.
Hi, so a little bit about my background is, so my husband was in the military. I volunteered for the Navy Marine Corps Relief Society, helping out young sailors with their budgeting and young families financially plan for their future after the military. And after we got back from overseas and, he separated from the military, we came here to California. And while we've been here in California, I started a Girl Scout troop. I saw that there was a need for a Girl Scout troop, not many people or Girl Scout leaders because it is a volunteer position. We my daughter has been in the troop for 8 years now, and I have 6 8th grade girls and teenagers. And for those of you who have teenagers, it is hard. So trying to get 6 girls to do something, volunteer, I feel like extra level for that, but that's a different story. But they're great, and right now they're working towards their silver award. And then after that, we're going to work towards our gold award, which is equivalent to an Eagle Scout or Boy Scout. A lot of people don't really know much about Girl Scouts, but it's just as important as Boy Scouts. Boy Scouts is also important. Also, while I've been here in Oakley, I saw that there was a need to step up to be a site rep because I used to be a technology teacher, and there wasn't any representation for the teachers on special assignment. So I dove in and I became a site rep, and then they needed somebody for the executive board, so I became the vice president, and then our president went on leave, and so then I became president, and then after that, now I'm the treasurer. So we've dealt with a lot of things with grievances and meeting with our district office, our superintendent, and just trying to keep everybody happy, and we know that happy teachers are happy children. Happy children are happy teachers, so it all kind of goes together. So that's my experience and my background. It's just kind of volunteer with Girl Scouts and volunteering with the Teachers Association here local for the school district.
Good, thank you. Thank you. Question number 1. Our next question is for George. In addition to legislative knowledge, a key part of being a member of the council is to be able to make decisions that benefit people whom you represent. A key part of this is being an active member of the local community to understand the wants and the needs of its constituents. My question is, in what ways are you active in the community, and in what ways will you be more active if you are elected to the city council, again, in your case?
Well, first off, you're right, and I'm an independent person, so when I make a decision, it's based on the community. what I, people say, well, why aren't you a mayor? Well, I'm supposed to play along with the game, and I don't like playing along with the game. I can't capitulate to something that I don't believe in if the decision is to go right. So I get, you know, I get the ire of the council. But with that, in the community, I have been out in the community. I have been there. I like this community. If you want to see me out in the dog park, I'm out in the dog park. I'm out meeting people. I'm out doing things of that nature. During that time, I also wrote a dissertation. If you ever want to hear, if you say a dissertation takes over a year, it takes over a year, and it takes an incredible amount of time. I felt bad because I wasn't going out. I felt guilty because it took time away from the community. That's done. My uh, emphasis is to be in the community, to get to know the people in the community, especially my district. I feel very strong passion for my district. We won't bring up Creekside, but you can see it when I'm there. And that I need to know more about. At the same time, I will be working with others in the community, in the other districts, getting to know them. In the process, I have gotten to know our trade unions in the city. We have an enormous amount, let's put it this way, we have 35% of our community are union members in the community. We have trade people here that are not getting jobs on the municipal projects. We need to change that. We need to bring it in. I'm hearing about wage theft. I'm hearing about misallocation of resources. Wage theft is so permeated throughout the Bay Area that Rob Bounta sent $3 million to the Bay Area counties to investigate wage theft, of which Contra Costa County got $750,000. So I will be working with the trade unions on how we can enhance their lives, not have them marginalized. I believe they're marginalized now, but have them in a voice within our projects, have an opportunity to get the benefits they are, and be involved in that, along with the other activities in the community that help me make decisions on the dais. Thank you.
Thank you. Christina, in what ways are you active in the community, and what ways will be even more active if elected to the city council?
Okay, so like I mentioned before, I kind of answered this question on the previous question, but I'll just elaborate more. So as I mentioned before, I'm a Girl Scout leader and I have been for 8 years. My troop is made up of 6 wonderful 8th graders who are currently working on their Silver Award. And that project that we are working on is building a community garden for 2 of the local Oakley schools. I also volunteer for a Girl Scout summer camp, and this is all volunteer run camp. It's very affordable for boys and girls to participate in it, and it's all run by volunteers. I'm also the vice president of the PTSA, which is a Parent Teacher Student Association for Delta Vista Middle School, which my daughter attends. We do fundraisers for fun events for the students to participate in, such as the 8th grade dance. We do sweet treats for the staff to keep them happy, because I can't imagine being a middle school teacher. And then we also want to do a makeover for the staff lounge. And as I mentioned before, I'm also part of the executive board for the Oakley Teachers Association, and I've been in 4 different roles there, as I mentioned before: vice president, president, and treasurer. And before that, I was the site rep for the teachers on special assignment. And I'm also helping do fundraisers for the local library here in Oakley. And so I'm hoping to do more. As I mentioned again, I always love to pick up trash and clean up our neighborhood, because I think having a clean community really brings out the best in people.
Thank you. Same question, Lexi. In what ways are you active in the community, and in what ways will you be more active if you are elected to the city council?
All right. Yes, thank you for the question. Yeah, kind of previous question, or my previous answer touched on this a little bit already, right? Look, being on the planning commission, I think gives you kind of a great opportunity to interact with your constituents, right? Direct interaction, right? And many of the times, difficult decisions come in front of you, right? And it's super important to give people, I mean, no matter what decision would be, no matter how you will place your vote, right, when you're in there on the days, it's important to give people fairness. And I also believe it's also crucial to give people reasoning behind your vote, why you're doing it a certain way. So part of the job, and I think not only for the planning commission, but also for the city council, is educational part. It's meeting with our constituents and explaining to them the many kind of reasonings behind the decisions that we make, right? Because sometimes they can seem very counterproductive, from the other side of the aisle, but they absolutely do make sense. And if you disagree with them, I think it's great opportunity for all of us to come together and actually have a conversation. And that's what I would like, to be as your council members, your representative, to be there for you, to actually represent your opinion, not my opinion. And I do believe one of my strengths actually is ability to change my opinion based on facts, right? I'd really always like to hear both sides, and sometimes there's many angles to the story, right? And come up with a decision that could be completely different from where I started, right? But I think it's very important and crucial to always remember that we are public servants. We're here to represent your opinion, not ours. And that's what I would like to do further, hopefully in the capacity of your council member. Currently also I'm serving on the Chamber of Commerce, and that gives me opportunity to interact with the business community, which I believe is crucial, right, for our city. I talk to people in my district, and they all want to see more businesses here in town. They want to see more grocery options. They want to see restaurants. They want to see places for leisure, right? Places where they can take their kids to do sport activities. So to do all of those, you gotta be, be really focused on economic development and doing that in a balanced and fair way. So yeah, hopefully this answers your question. And again, we're here for you. We're your servants. Come talk to all of us. We're here to serve you.
Thank you. Our next question. Well, realizing that as a council member, you're responsible for effecting change. It's one of the main roles of being a council member. Is there anything that the current council is doing that you disagree with? And in what way would you change that? Christina.
Well, I really love the way that our current mayor, Anissa, is completely transparent with our city. She does these, she writes down everything that was discussed in the council meetings, and she puts it on Nextdoor. She puts it on Facebook for everyone to see, and I think that's amazing and wonderful. And before she was mayor, I didn't see that before, so I thought that it was really neat to see that full transparency for all of the residents to see. Moving forward, I would just love to see more positivity in our council. We need to kind of work together for the greater good, and just to make sure that everybody, if we can't agree, let's have those discussions, but in a kind and positive, professional way.
Thank you. Same question, Alexi.
Yes, you know what, I truly cannot agree more. Look, I'll start with, we actually have a pretty amazing dream team, of people who come from very diverse backgrounds on the council. Sometimes it might seem to you this way, but look, I work with these people already in various capacities, and some of them have very diametrically different opinions, right, on a lot of things. But what's amazing is that they can take all those opinions aside and be very professional, right, and work together for the common good of our society. And I think that's very refreshing. That is something that is much, much needed, not just in our city, but in our state, and obviously on the national level. So I would like to see even more teamwork, more respect, more professionalism. We just always have to remember to not take the best of our, put our emotions aside. Always remember that you are representing the community, and do it in a very proper and yeah, professional manner.
Thank you. George, same question.
Yes, Mr. Kiko called, mentioned me on a podcast that I'm some cranky old dude that barks. And that who wants to have a cranky old dude that barks and barks? I do. When I was in the riots in 1992, I was a little bit cranky. In fact, I was more than cranky. I worked from 6 p.m. 6 a.m. I had the projects. I had Jordan Downs, Imperial Courts, in Nickerson Gardens. One time we had a homicide there, right there in the middle of the riots. They had to go into Imperial Court and things were not going well. And they said, "You're in charge." Yeah, I barked. Yeah, I barked. But they didn't result what went through. What would happen right here with Creekside Park was devastating to me. Creekside Park has not gotten what it needed. I went and was very adamant that it needed to be there. And when the city engineer began, well, we have a lot of vandalism and where he's going. And you know, those kids over there, some of those kids on the east side, well, some of them BIPOC, we have a tough time keeping them. I wouldn't buy it. I stopped it before you could get there. I heard that too much. Heard that too much. My focus is on the community. That's where my focus is. I don't have any outside income coming from the city. All my income comes from the pension. I don't like when I see the library getting shorted when we putting up $5 and $6 million into Enrico Cinquini Park, selling the library. They got to raise their own funds. When in fact, the Enrico Cinquini Park should be raising their own funds. If he was that great, have the fundraisers for them. But I see that over and over. In terms of our workers within the community, within the city hall, I see them marginalized. I don't see them having the representation, the ability to be together. It's more like, well, we're in charge. This is the way you're going to do it. And if you're nice, we'll bring you a free breakfast and things. But this is the way it is because that's the way it is. And it's been like years. We need to start focusing on the members of the community and especially the trades. So that's one of the ideas that I have. Be a cranky old, some cranky old dude that barks.
Thank you. Our next question is for starting with Alexi. Besides potentially changing the direction of certain current council policies and decisions, what other changes would you enact? Name your top 3 priorities if elected.
All right, top 3 priorities, guys. Okay, I think the top one is number one for all of us. It's actually public safety. Look, the reality is you cannot have a community without public safety. Look, we gotta have safe streets for our kids to play, safe roads for like our kids to drive, all of us to drive, right? Um, just properly well-maintained infrastructure, I think, is important because we're a growing city and it's important to keep up, which we're doing a pretty good job, with the city. So that's number one. Number two would be economic development, and it's really for me that's my passion. I hope you noticed that. I just like when I moved here, when I moved to Oakley, right, with my wife, we always like to talk about what an amazing, like totally hidden gem Oakley is in Bay Area, right? Um, I think we can be so much more, right? Oakley transformed from a place that used to be very agricultural, right? Trains used to stop here. We used to deliver our agriculture to various places in the state, which was very important, Then we transitioned into a suburban community, and I think the future of Oakley is actually being a place of leisure for the entire Delta, okay? I think we're blessed to have like water on like 2 sides of our like map, I think that's a feature. A lot of the times, it could be viewed as negative, for people who come to develop in a community. But I think honestly, it's a feature that we all need to be kind of emphasizing more. And I would like to see that certainly accomplished and be the place that actually can attract all those businesses my district would like to see, right? So what does that mean? Again, safe and being super pro-business. But last thing I'd like to mention is regional cooperation, okay? That's what I would like to see more. I believe we all benefit as a region together, as a Delta, if our cities would start working a little bit more together to achieve common good for our people. Because let's just face it, if an amazing business comes to Oakley, right? Let's say, I don't know, some really fancy popular restaurant comes to it. People from other neighboring communities will come and eat here, right? Same goes, people attract a pretty big, industry that can bring jobs here, right? Who does it benefit? It doesn't benefit people of Oakley. It also benefits people of Brentwood, Antioch, and all the neighboring communities. So I would like to see bigger regional cooperation where we all can, work together as a team and drive the whole region to the top.
Thank you. George, what are your three top priorities?
Well, when I was elected in 2020, public safety, we did not have the fire protection we needed. We did not have the police protection. We have that now. So to keep that equitable and keep that operational, that's what must be done. But in terms of priorities, is number one, get our workers in the community and throughout our municipal projects working with a project labor agreement, getting involved, getting equitable, getting the protection. We spend millions of dollars of municipal taxes on projects that I'm getting reports over and over again that are not being met. We need to come up do that. Second, and it goes right along with it, in fact, they're interchangeable. No new taxes. No new taxes. No new taxes. I was on the Association of Area Governments, Bay Area Governments. They were going to have a $20 billion tax, regional tax on everybody. San Mateo could vote for it, Santa Clara, and we know how that goes. They vote for regional ones, we do not. So I stood against it. Other people began to stand against it. They pulled it from the ballot. If people are paying too much money in Oakley for their property taxes. And it's not just property taxes, but they've come up, other older councils came up with the idea, well, don't have to pay permits now. When you buy the house, we'll have your property tax, but we'll also start assessing to the developer the cost of the streets. We pay too many taxes in Oakley. The third is affordable housing through diversity, equity, and inclusion. We need a tight community. We are doing it. We need to make sure that works. When we sell surplus land, we make sure that 20% of that is going to go to affordable housing. We need to make sure that that is working with everyone, not just affordable housing in a big apartment complex, but affordable housing within the communities that are being built and to make sure that comes about. So to summarize, again, PLA's project labor agreements, number one. Right with it, no new taxes. That's coming from some old dude that's cranky, okay? No new taxes. And the third is an inclusive community with affordable housing.
Thank you. Christina, what are your top three priorities if elected?
I kind of touched on this at the beginning from my opening statement, but again, my number one priority is public safety. I have family here in Oakley, and I want my family to feel safe. And right now, we are working towards having one officer per 1,000 residents, and we need to increase that. So I want to help ensure that we can have our community safe and protected. Again, having a clean community, making sure that our streets and parks, our neighborhoods are all clean, not just in my district, but in all parts of Oakley, because I feel like that affects us as a whole city. And we should not just be looking in our area, but in the city as a whole. Also, I want to help promote economic growth as well. Um, I think that we need to look at the economic growth as, in the future and how it is now, and talk to people who live in the area about how do they feel about having a big store there next door to them, and not just coming up with our own ideas and agreeing to something, but actually talking to everybody in the neighborhood about what businesses should we have in their neighborhood. We also want to make sure that we keep our small town feel, but we also want to have the convenience of big businesses and not have to drive, 20, 30 minutes to go to Brentwood or Antioch. And last, for my final priority is I want to make sure that we have a safety resource officer in our middle schools. Right now, the chief is working on making that happen, and I know we cannot, by having an SRO at our middle schools, it will not only make our hardworking teachers feel safer, but it will make our students feel safer. Right now, there are fights going on in the middle school almost daily, and I feel like having a safety resource officer will not only help that connection and having that role model there on campus, but there will be less crime in the future by having a safety resource officer at our middle schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question, George. With 6,000 new homes projected to be built in Oakley over the next several years, what strategy do you have, if elected, for career job growth to support the influx of new residents?
I'm glad you mentioned construction. I'm glad you mentioned building. One of the top tenets I have is to get project labor agreements in terms of what is building in Oakley. And that means that getting Oakley citizens in the trade hired as a project. What can we do? They're spending money in our community to build homes, but when I drive by, like the DeNova that's going out in the northeast corner of Bethel Island and Cypress, truck pulls in front of me coming out of the project, has an out-of-state license, and guess what? It's from Louisiana. We need to get that money here somehow. We need to hire the people here that we have living here that will bring that money into the community and spend it in the community. 6,000 new homes. Somehow we have to come up with this mechanism to use our labor instead of bringing out-of-state labor that will come about in terms. So that's one way. The other way is to continue to be a diversified type of economic development. I'm asked again and again, and I was asked in 2020, and we were working, I thought, on colleges. But colleges would fit well in here, I believe. They fit well, they pay well, people tend to live close to them. Bring in colleges, so we will bring that type of job that will be coming in here. We have to be creative. We have to be independent. We have to look for, in terms of our community development, and then begin to spread what we have and our spending in here, including our municipal projects, in the community, so the community members get it back and spend it with our businesses.
So do you see, it's a two-parter, do you see Oakley as a city that's built for people to live and work in, or workers to commute to and from?
Oh no, I believe Oakley is a good place to work. Good place to work. I would like people to be able to do that, to be able to do this, to be able to find the industries that are willing to come in here that we can work with to build that. No, I don't think people should be able to drive. And you talk about the trades. I don't know how to say it, but I have a friend who's on IBW San Francisco 6 who lives in Stockton and drives to San Francisco every day so he can feed his family of 6, one within the college, and comes back. I don't want to see that in Oakley. I want people to be able to work here and with a minimum of community.
Okay, thank you. Christina, if elected, do how do you plan to support the influx of new residents? And do you see the city as a to and from community, or should the people live and work in the community?
So I am lucky enough to work here in Oakley. I actually bought our house here in Oakley after I got my job. I got my job first, and then my husband had to go to work right away when we moved out here. And I told him, hey, guess what? I bought a house. And so I kind of bought it without his permission. Um, but funny story, but we really need to work with our schools to make sure that before we are building all these hundreds and thousands of new homes, we need to make sure that there's room for these children to go to, because when you build a new house, there's a 2.5 child that live there, or children that live there, right? And so we need to make sure that, when we're communicating that, hey, we're gonna build 6,000 new homes in this development, that the schools have enough space for these kids. Because what can happen is little Susie can live near Iron House, but in a new development there, let's say that they decide to build another development there that feeds into Iron House, but there's only 4 third-grade teachers, and all 4th-grade teachers already have their maximum half amount of 24 students. They're going to send little Susie now to Vintage Parkway, because Vintage Parkway now doesn't have enough students in 3rd grade, and so they're going to have, and that parent is not going to be very happy. So we need to make sure that before we are building these new houses, that the schools can accommodate. I've seen that they started building new houses out at Summer Lake, and I teach at Summer Lake. Where are those kids gonna go? We are already maxed out. We already have 4 teachers for kindergarten that have 24 students in each grade level. We have 4 first-grade teachers, 4 second-grade teachers, 4 third-grade teachers, 3 4th-grade teachers, and 3 5th-grade teachers, and they are all pretty much at cap. And they had to put in 3 portables because we didn't have enough classrooms. And so if they are building those new homes, where are those children going to go? Those parents are not going to be happy that they bought that brand new house and that child's not going to have to go to Vintage Parkway because that's the only place that they have space. So we need to really make sure that we're communicating with the school district. So being a teacher and being part of the executive board with the Teachers Association, I feel like I can help with that bridge of the communication if I'm elected to city council and talking to the school board whenever we have new developments that want to come in. But as far as like businesses that I want to see here in Oakley, I want to see more art shops. I want to see more kind of arts and crafts stores. I want to see more small restaurants. I want to see small grocery stores. And, as I mentioned at the beginning, I live here in Oakley and I work here in Oakley, and I want that for everybody. So, thank you.
Thank you. Alexi, what is your strategy for job and career growth to support the influx of new residents? And do you vision the city being a commute to and from community, or for people to live and work in?
Okay, thank you. Excellent question. So, on the contrary, I am a super commuter. So, I live in Oakley, but I commute to San Mateo. Okay, so I know that there's quite a lot of people in my district who do the same, and unfortunately, we can, sit and talk about different strategies, but the current reality is that so many people have to do this because jobs are simply just not here, not in our region, or not in our region yet. So my strategy is actually the third point that I mentioned to you amongst my focuses. It's the regional cooperation, right? If we come together as a region, bring all of our cities together, we can actually be able to attract better industries, right? At some point, we all have to understand that successful Antioch means also successful locally, right? Because together as a region, we have significantly higher willpower, higher ability to attract important jobs of the future. And some of those that I'd like to kind of extend here are actually innovative jobs of tomorrow. So some of you already know that Contra Costa County actually does a lot with autonomous vehicles, right? I think Oakley is, and actually the whole region right here is positioned ideally to be a facility to not only test those vehicles, but give them kind of a playground to do it in real life experiences, not only on the roads, okay, but also in the water and in the air, having Byron Airport nearby, you know. So we definitely have opportunity to create some new jobs or new types of jobs that we don't even think of at the moment, you know, and those jobs could be the kind of jobs that could actually support our families, right? But those jobs will require a certain skill set, and that's where Oakley Library comes very, very importantly into the whole kind of realm of what we're trying to do here. Because Oakley Library can become the hub for that innovation, right? Where we can offer STEM classes, you know, classes that will create the workers of the future right here in the Delta. And look, think about it this way. At one point, Silicon Valley was nothing but orchards, you know? And I'm not saying that we should become a Silicon Valley, but I'm saying there's definitely an opportunity to keep the wonderful rural feel that we all enjoy here, right? But also bring in high-tech jobs to our city.
Thank you. Continuing the same growth pattern, these 6,000 homes will also lead to more children attending schools in Oakley. So, Christina, what is your strategy for partnering with local school districts to ensure overcrowding and other concerns don't hurt children?
Okay, so as I mentioned, we really need to be communicating with our school district. Um, the district staff is amazing, and I feel like, you know, working together for the greater good, we can come up with some great solutions. We definitely need a new middle school. Right now, both of our middle schools are at 900 students each. More, more kids, more problems, and it's just like if we had less kids per middle school, we would have less problems. And unfortunately, that's what happens. And we definitely also need to do new boundary lines. The executive board discussed this with the district staff, and they said that we would be working on that because right now Garinger is our largest elementary school. They have close to 800 students at that school alone. Whereas we have schools like Oakley Elementary that probably only have about 300 students. So that's really not fair to have such a big gap difference where, and same thing with Laurel Elementary. I believe that they're only at about 300 students as well. They only have 2 teachers per grade level. Whereas Summer Lake, we have 4 teachers per grade level. Almond Grove is another school. I think that they're only at 3 teachers per grade level. So we really need to do new boundary lines where it's a little bit more equitable. Our poor admins, it's not fair for an administrator to have 800 students, 800 parents versus 300 students, 300 parents. We need to make it more equitable for the principals, for our counselors, for our school psychologists, and for our teachers. It's really unfair, when teachers also have duties where they have to have 5 duties per week because there's just more kids on campus. Whereas like other schools that have less kids, they might only have 3 or 4 duties per week. That's not fair to a teacher at school A versus school B. And so again, before we start building more homes, we really need to have new boundary lines for the schools, and we need to build another middle school.
Thank you. Alexi, what is your strategy for partnering with local schools to ensure that overcrowding and other concerns won't hurt their education?
Right, yeah, thank you for that. It's also a very good question. Yeah, Christina kind of already touched on this. It is important to have that cooperation with your school districts, right? Um, Look, I'll be very frank and honest with you. My kids are tiny, right? I have a 3-year-old and I have, just a brand new baby that is 2 weeks old, right? So those things, like schools, I'll be learning a lot in the next few years, right? I'll be young father. But it's exceptionally important because, let's be honest, right? Uh, like everything I already do in my life is not for me, I'm already thinking about my kids, about their future, right? So we need to make sure that everything that we're doing is with kind of idea how it's going to benefit those kids, right? Like my daughters and their peers. One thing to kind of like mention, not necessarily to go away from the school standpoint, but look, many of you go next door, you see those posts, right, about, oh my God, the horrible kids on bicycles running around, vandalizing property, doing all this stuff. Guess what? You know what? When you have a growing community like ours, right, and infrastructure is not keeping up, and when I say infrastructure, I don't mean just like schools and things like that, but leisure, recreation, and sports facilities, right? There's nothing for kids to do. So I've mentioned to you that public safety is important for me. Well, all those things, if you look at them, they all kind of come hand in hand together, right? If you want to have safe streets, and if you want these kids to have like opportunities to do something productive with their lives, not only you need to have like another school, right? You also need to have extracurricular activities for them. I would like for one to see an all ages music venue here in Oakley because I think it's really important. It gives kids opportunity to also grow in ways that are beyond school, right? Same goes for sports facilities. A lot of my neighbors, they have to drive their kids for practices to Martinez. To Stockton, some people take them to Modesto, depending on the sport, right? I think we have opportunity to have those recreation centers here in Oakley, and that's something that I would like to almost work together with schools. So schools are doing their job; they know it way better than we do. I'm not, trying to tell them how to run their stuff, right? They know it way better. But what we know is, and it's our kind of job per se. What's the word I'm looking for? Job description, right, is to expand quality of life for all of our residents. And I think kids need schools, but they also need those places to do extracurricular activities in our community.
Thank you. George, what is your strategy for partnering with local school districts to ensure that overcrowding and other concerns don't hurt their education?
Excuse me. Well, if there's a way that Ms. Langley can sit on the board and be a teacher within our district, she has my vote. I mean, she's very highly impressed, and I think that she brings up ideas that need to be there. I've sat on the school board. I've been a teacher for 22 years, and retired from that profession and have a doctor of education. We cannot exist as a community without some strong partnership. Now, getting a partnership, it just seems difficult that we can come together. I know I talked to Mr. McMurray some time ago about the school resources officers in the middle schools, Ms. Langley brought up, and it came to the dais. My understanding, we passed it. I hope if we haven't gotten there, we've got the money behind it. So that is one way we can do it. We need to be able to talk with the superintendent and with the idea of building because a lot of our land is already zoned and spoken for. So if we're going to build more elementary schools, it's going to be necessary to do that. Did guarantee 900 students? Thank you for providing that. That is just not acceptable. So how can we work together as a special education teacher? How can we get students or disabled students into the community and being active, being a member of the community in sports, in eating, in social activities? How can we do that? How can we get together and build these together? Build this relationship of coming together. There are times that are conflicting. When I was on the West Covina School Board and then the city of West Covina, we had our own conflicts. But those conflicts must be addressed if we're going to have a community. The Supreme Court, years ago, but the Supreme Court has repeatedly said that schools are the local government's responsibility, the local community's responsibility. It is not the state that's going to bring it about. It's not some other entity. It's the local community's responsibility, and we are in that community. So we have to find a way to build that together in our community in Oakley.
Thank you. Alexi, Oakley clearly has plans to continue to grow and develop. How would you control and meet the state housing requirements and continue to create growth that is positive for the community?
Wonderful question. Thank you. Yes. So look, the reality is, if you ask, and maybe that's a future question, but a lot of the times, you're being asked one of those. What is the biggest problem that you see for your community? And I believe it's in many ways same one for any community in California, right? It's affordability. The reality is we're losing too many great people. I mean, I lost personally a lot of great friends because they could not afford to live in the state anymore, right? And look, it's a very multifaceted problem. It's not easy to solve it, right? But what is the most unaffordable thing? It's housing, right? So we definitely need to come up with solutions to give people who would like to be part of our Oakley family, give them a place where they can actually grow their families, right? Which is affordable housing, right? A lot of the times, people are afraid of the term, but I think there's really great examples in our country of how to do it the right way. And I believe the answer is mixed developments, where you have almost like a little village. You have your various different restaurants, coffee shops, businesses. On the bottom floor, you have housing at the top. You have almost like a little village, almost like a little town within town. For those who are interested, you can go online, look up Tobin Hill in San Antonio. They've done an amazing job, from a place that was actually kind of, nothing was going on there. It was an old industrial part of town, actually used to be a big brewing facility. Nothing was going on in there, and they were able to create really nice looking, beautiful, affordable housing for the young families, to actually come and make it into home, right? So I think doing kind of things like that are not typical affordable housing, but are more like an all-encompassing mixed development where people actually don't need to maybe drive. They can go downstairs and buy groceries, because there is a grocery store downstairs, right? I think that's huge and important. It's going to be maybe kind of a solution for us in Oakland in the future.
Thank you so much. George, same question.
Yes, would you repeat the question, please?
Thank you. Sorry about that. How would you control and meet the state housing requirements and continue growth that is positive for the community?
It starts with the idea of attitude, that we can build affordable housing and we have a responsibility to bring in housing. If you look at North Hollywood, California, and down the Los Angeles area, Eagle Rock, down in that area, you will find 900 square foot houses throughout the area. Where did they come from? It came from World War II and the GIs coming back to Los Angeles to go to school, and they bought the small houses. It was the attitude then that we needed affordable housing for our GIs. We need affordable. It's the attitude here. We need affordable housing, and we do not need to build one building. I have said that over and over again. When I worked the projects in Los Angeles, Nickerson Gardens, uh, Imperial Courts, Jordan Downs, they were inhumane structures. All the city did was they built affordable housing in the 50s, down along Imperial Highway. Everybody that needed the place to go, they did, and they forgot about it. And it was a mess down there. I am very opposed to just one type of housing for affordable, but we need to spread it out through the community. How do you do it? You don't buy issue more taxes for $20 billion. You develop an attitude, this is going to happen. Then, what resources do we have to make sure that this happens? Is it diversity, equity, and inclusion? As far as controlling it, it has to be through incentives. The landowners have their land and they want to develop it, but we need to find an incentive and work with them to do it. De Nova Homes, again, I'll mention that. One area to De Nova Homes, they will have 20% deeded affordable housing. That was their solution to affordable housing and what was there. That was their recommendation. We didn't say it. They're going to have it there. There's going to be 20% of that development feasible affordable housing going in there, and that was because actually Mr. McMurray and the development and everybody there that we had, we wanted affordable housing. How can you do it? And De Novo Home saw the opportunity to step forward. So that's where we have to work upon.
Thank you. Christina, how would you control and meet state housing requirements and create growth that is positive for the community?
Well, I think definitely the local government needs to have rent control. I know that's one of the props that are coming up on our ballot this year. And also, we see Oakley is made up of all these huge 3,000 square foot homes. I really think that we really need to talk to developers and have tiny homes, like a 1,200 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath home. I saw this article on the California Teachers Association newsletter that they send out every month, and Palo Alto has affordable housing for brand new teachers, so they are able to live and work in Palo Alto. Palo Alto is a really expensive area, and even though that they pay their teachers significantly more than they do in Oakley, it's still not affordable when you have a $4,000 or $5,000 a month rent. And so I really think that we can learn a lot from that and having something more affordable so we can have our teachers, our police officer, our firefighters, and anyone with, any kind of entry level job when you're just starting out, so you can have the American dream and afford to buy a home. I know when I first bought my home, I was living in Jacksonville, Florida, and I bought a modest 1,500 square foot home for $200,000. That's what I could afford. And when I came here to California and I met with a real estate agent, I had moved out here, and I said my budget was $300,000. She kind of laughed at me. And this was 8 years ago. And so I was like kind of shocked with the prices here in California. But so I really think that we really need to make it more affordable, having more smaller homes with the developers and having that opportunity for people to live here in Oakley and own.
Thank you, Christina. Our next question, starting with George. Senior housing in Senior housing in Oakley has been in the news this year for issues such as uninhabitable conditions like those seen in the Oaks apartment behind Rayleigh's. How would you address habitability problems and unreasonable rent increases at senior affordable housing facilities?
Well, the Oaks is a special project alone because actually, if you look at the bonds and what was issued to the city, financed a good portion of the building of that. Again, I do not believe in large affordable housing units because the problem comes is that they start looking at the profit line and the bottom line is that's where it's come from. We've got to have the standards and enforce it, and especially since we were financing it. That's in the Oaks. So we need to make sure the regulations are enforced. We need to have the regulations. I believe we need to codify after thorough investigation, codify what needs to be done in that area to ensure that it's going to be there to give the assistance. I am a senior, and along with other seniors in there, the majority of seniors in Oakley know that we are disrespected in City Hall. We are not getting what we need in terms of recognition, of acceptance. We're being shoved aside one place to the other. We are not getting it there. We think they're trying to get it, and the bottom line is they were actually, in my mind, seniors were silenced. They were silenced because we were coming up on the election, so we'll have some subcommittees that don't have to report, and all sorts of stuff was going on and confusing, but it got set aside and wasn't there. We have to accept the seniors. The seniors are the fastest growing population that I understand within the city of Oakley, and we need to address it. We need to address it because ageism does exist in terms of the Oaks. Ageism exists in other areas, and we need to address the issue by ensuring that our seniors have the housing that they need.
Thank you. Christina, same question. How would you address the habitability problems and unreasonable rate increases at senior affordable housing facilities?
All right, so I have a family story about this. So I have, my great uncle, he is a senior and he put his name on the wait list to get into, Section 8 housing. And he was on that list for over a year. And this is not here in California, it's in Texas, but I feel like the problem is nationwide. And we really need to make it more of an easier process and a faster process for seniors to get into, Section 8 affordable housing, and not just seniors, everyone. And, I think that the city does a great job of following up with the Oaks. They are under new management now, and I feel like going in there and talking to them and seeing, hey, is maintenance actually taking care of you guys? What do you guys need? How can we help you? And I've always just believed in, you treat others the way that you want to be treated. And so if we treat them with kindness, we get kindness in return. And so just listening and talking to them about their needs and their wants, I really feel like we can get there and, it goes a long way. So.
Thank you. Okay, that's our first set of questions. Now we go to the lightning round because we.
Oh, you forgot about me.
No lightning round yet. Okay.
So I get an extra minute.
You get an extra minute.
Uh,
Okay.
it's
Sorry, Alexi. How would you address the habitability problems and unreasonable rent increases at the senior affordable housing facilities?
Yeah, no, thank you for that question. Again, uh, look, a huge problem for the entire state and really very soon for the whole country. Look, senior citizens are on, it's a very special group of residents, right? Not just in Oakley, but anywhere, right? Because they have very fixed income, right? They don't have much leeway. There needs to be ways of protecting their livelihood, protecting, just a basic shelter for them, right? As Dr. Fuller mentioned, standards need to be enforced, and I believe, city has done a really good job in following up on a lot of these issues that, have been brought up to, recent city council meetings. But we certainly can do more. But again, it's the issue of supply and demand, right? You will never be able to have any level of affordability if you don't have certain adequate level of supply in the community, right? So, perhaps there could be some different ways to have potentially like limited increases to housing costs, for seniors being like a protected, so to speak, class of the population, something like that I think would help. But again, it's such a big problem that again requires cooperation. We cannot solve it on our own in Oakley. We gotta have regional cooperation, we gotta have state cooperation, right? And if we can work together with our neighboring cities, and make it a priority, I believe we can attract more uh, more resources from the state and federal government to tackle this issue. I mean, look, there's no way little old Oakley will be able to fix this. We gotta work on this together. There's power in numbers. So I think there's many opportunities for us to come together as a region and start solving it hand in hand.
Thank you. Did you need extra time? No.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, just checking in. Okay, now we have three questions from the audience members. The first one, we'll start with Christina. How do you plan to involve the residents in decision-making processes in our town or your town?
Our town. Well, I do a little bit of this being part of the executive board with the Oakley Teachers Association. I send out surveys for everything. And so I like to send out surveys with our staff, our teachers in particular, and, kind of ask them, what do they want? You might have noticed, parents out there, that we had fall conferences before fall break. It used to be in November. That was because of me. So I sent out a survey and I asked teachers, hey, what do you guys think about having conferences earlier in the year versus having them in November? And I sent out a Google survey, and over 50% of them said that they thought it would be a great idea, not only for them, but for parents to get them the information about how their child is doing behavior-wise and academic-wise. And, we did that as part of the executive board. I mean, I'm not gonna take the whole credit, but, I was the one that sent out the survey and I was the president at the time. But that's just one example. And so I like to really talk. I like to, and when I was president, I would go out and visit the school sites and kind of ask them, what do you need? What can I do to help you? How can I make your job better? And, you get a lot of feedback by just talking to people. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you. Same question, Alexi. How do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process in Oakley?
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, so again, obviously, to make any kind of good and properly well-informed decision, you've got to have feedback from our residents, right, who are our constituents, people whom we represent. So I think it's kind of, you got to give people many different avenues to do this. I think surveys is one of them, we send out really amazing emails weekly. Danielle is doing an amazing job, so there's a way for us to solicit feedback through that. There's also, I think, something to be said about public forums such as this one, right, where we can invite public to come and actually have a conversation, right? It's really great to come and sit here and have a little monologue, but I think dialogues are very important. So, obviously you cannot sometimes do it in a forum like this, but what you can do is have coffee and donuts with your, council members, right? And actually seek that information and feedback and basically ideas that people want us to implement, right? Because at the end of the day, I said this many times over, it's not about us, it's not about our great ideas. We are actually elected to represent the opinion of the people who, put their trust in us. So again, many different avenues. I think in person, some various online platforms would be good. Maybe we can host a Zoom call, But I think there's something to be said also about doing this in person. Perhaps we can even do little things like this at some of our fun events in the city. But yeah, I hope this answers your question.
Thank you. In interest of time, the next few questions will be at a 2-minute limit. Oh, you didn't give your, oh God, I'm rushing. You can tell my priorities here. George, same question. How do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process in Oakley?
Yes, it's 3 minutes, right? Yes.
Yes.
I think the biggest way is to get out into the community. When I got my petition to file for candidacy, it's 20 signatures, and yes, you have enough people to go around and sign it, and they turn it back in, and it kind of becomes a formality, and I wanted to try a different method. So I would get, because it was still summertime, and it's still hot, but in the morning, I would get in my car, and I would drive around the district, and I would find somebody working on the front yard, and I had a list, so I knew they were registered voters. So I just approach them and say, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? And they said, yeah. I said, I'm running for re-election. I'm George Fuller. Would you sign my petition? They said, yeah. And they signed it, and they looked. And they said, nobody's ever done this before. I was in neighborhoods, they said, nobody from the city has ever come in here and talked to us. And I got the 20 signatures, and I got to know a lot of people. I've been walking the district with my cane. Unfortunately, I don't have my service out that will be doing it, but it's not quite ready. I lost the other one, but to died of a tumor to the spleen. But back to it, walking the district, I meet a lot of people. So we have people that are interested. We have people that want to be heard, but we have to develop the system. We have a lot of them come in and listen to us, and we're going to tell you in the academy how it is. And come in here and we're going to tell you where it is. We need to have a focus group that is just a focus group of individuals come here from different areas. When I began to learn about project labor agreements and what was going on in there, I spent a year with meeting with labor leaders throughout it. I got to know what was going on, and I was able to work with them. What was needed in the community to make their life more equitable, not marginalized, to get the wages, the benefits, the pensions, things that their families need, and then protected. The end result was I got to know them. So we need focus groups. We need the opportunity. We need to approach it not we're coming out to you to kind of tell you what it is, but we want you to come in here and talk. It worked on the 55-acre program part. It took a long time. We had a lot of meetings. We talked with the community a lot, and we hired people that talk to people in the community to get it there. So it does work.
Thank you. The next two questions from the audience will have a 2-minute time limit, Dale, so we're going to reset the clock time. I'm going to start out with Alexi. The question is, if Oakley were to emulate another town, it doesn't say if it's California, but in another town, what town would it be and why?
Ooh, that is a
Let's
great.
stick and try to keep it in California, just because all the other.
You know what? Hey, I'll keep it in the same county, to be honest with you. No problem. We can do this. Okay, can I answer? All right, cool. Okay, so I just read a great article that mentions us. You know, we were proudly crowned as a #2 place where the city in California where most Californians live. Okay, which is very kind of interesting concept. You know, the article in the San Francisco Chronicle mentions that 62% of our population here in Oakley actually either was born here, grew up here, or at some point left and came back. Right. So they talked a lot about Oakley, but actually the biggest portion of the article was dedicated to Martinez, which is #1 city in the state of California that has 74% rate of Californians who, again, either always lived or came back. And in case of Martinez, it is actually about young families who are coming back. Now, again, look, I came to the United States 18 years ago. Look, and at that point, uh, my ex-girlfriend, she actually lived in Martinez, okay? So I'm familiar with that city. And let me tell you something. In 18 years, it has changed in a positive way so incredibly much, right? It is actually known right now, maybe, I mean, for those of you who follow like music scene, you know, it's actually called as a little Nashville in the Bay, okay? There's a lot of great music venues, a lot of talent coming out of there. And you know, everything that I've sort of been mentioning to you about us being the capital of leisure and recreation and all those things, there's a city that I would like to emulate and who did it actually pretty incredible in the last decade, I would say Martinez, 100%.
Thanks, Lexi. George, if Oakley were to emulate another town, what town would it be and why?
I don't know how to answer that. I like Oakley the way it is. I don't like to compare it with another city. We are a unique city unto ourselves, and that I'm very proud to be here.
Well, what would be the #2 town?
Is that?
I just had to ask.
No, I'm serious. We are #1. I don't want to go back and say, well, look at Walnut Creek, what they're doing, and look at those. I believe in Oakley. I live here. I develop it, or worked on the development. Want to see it continue to go the direction that it is, as far as government and development. And I love Oakley. God bless the United States. God bless the state of California. God bless the city of Oakley, the city of Oakley. And I'm not comparing it to anybody else. Are the citizens happy here? And that's why it's this way.
Thank you. Christina, if Oakley were to emulate another town, what town would it be and why?
So I was actually going to take this answer, but now I changed my
Why not? It's a great country. Hope to see.
Okay, so a little bit about me. I've lived all over the world. I've lived in 4 different states. Let me see. So I grew up in Texas, moved to Florida. We lived in Maryland, came to California. Okay, so I guess that doesn't count. Well, yeah. And then I also lived in Japan. And so I've kind of been around a lot of different places, being a military spouse. But one of the things that I wish Oakley would have a little bit more of is for things for adults. So I like to travel a lot. And I love how Lodi has wineries that people can go to and sit down and have a glass of wine. Now, I don't really drink a lot, but I do like that it has, that opportunity. And Oakley has that opportunity where we have the vineyards. Why not have a little wine tasting here in Oakley? I feel like we definitely have, vineyards here. We have a business opportunity there, and so I really feel like that could help grow Oakley in a positive direction, and also have more job opportunities. And I don't know. So I guess Lodi is my answer, but I really do like Oakley, and I like the way it is. But it's like one of those things like you can't say nothing. You have to pick something. So that's what I would like to pick. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for answering the question. Okay, George, you have the next audience question, and it's a real important one. Why are you running for office?
I'm running for office because when I moved here, I was very happy to have a home. I was in Oakley. I started to live here, and I began to see what was going in City Hall, and it wasn't good. It just was not good. And having prior governmental experience, I thought, I could either live in here and accept an unacceptable situation, or I could step up and start doing something for the community that would be positive, that would be take us another direction. And that's exactly what I did. That's why I ran for office. They said I wouldn't get elected. The councilors and mayor was laughing. All of them are gone. They're gone. We stepping forward and we started a new direction. It's working, and that's why I wanted to do that. I am enthralled with the opportunity to be sitting on the dais to represent labor, to represent the city, to represent safety, to represent the people here, and that's what thrills me to continue on.
Thank you. Christina, same question. Why are you running for office?
Okay, so great question. I kind of answered that at the beginning when I did my statement, but I'll kind of elaborate on it. So, as you know, I'm a teacher here for the local school district, and I'm also a Girl Scout leader and leader within the Teachers Association. And the reason why I wanted to run for office, a lot of people were like, you should do it. I think you would be great. You love the community, you want your daughter to be in a safe place. And I feel like I can make a difference. And I have the drive and I can make the commitment to make a better place for people to live, work, and play here in Oakley. I'm a doer and I am very transparent. I can even show you my bank account if you really want to look at it. So I am just one of those people that, it's like you tell me that you want something, I will try to make it happen. I do that as a teacher and I want my daughter to also grow up in a safe place. I grew up in a safe place and I want the same for my family. So that's why I'm running for office.
Thank you. And Alexi, why are you running for office?
All right. Well, why would one do anything in life, right? You just gotta love it, right? And as I mentioned a little bit earlier, there's no better way to show your love for anything you do in life than with a direct action, right? So, uh, but one thing I would say, that has to be mentioned too, I also feel like I am privileged, because so many great people with great ideas, very talented people, simply cannot afford to do a commitment like this, right? Due to their time, right? Because they have to, too many job-related, just time commitments, right? And look at me, like I have 2 kids. One was just born, right? But I definitely gonna tell you, I have support of my family to do this, and that gives me that privilege to actually have time, have drive, have passion to do this. I'm sort of already doing a lot of these things in my other capacities on the Planning Commission and on Chamber of Commerce, but this would give me just this little extra next level of opportunity to represent all of you, and that's where that whole privilege comes into. And again, look, anything we do, right, it better be for the kids, right? For our kids, for the future generations. Even if we don't have kids, right? It's about that next generation, and I want them to have City of Oakley a little bit better than we have it today. That's all.
Thank you so much. This concludes our questions for the candidates forum this evening. But before we finish, I would like to give you each an opportunity for a closing statement. You each will have 3 minutes for a closing statement. We're going to go in reverse order, starting with Christina.
Okay, so thank you for allowing me to share my ideas and what's important to me. I again want to thank the press and everyone out here who came to listen, either virtually or in person. I hope all your questions were answered. And just so you know, if I am chosen to be the city council, I will make sure that I will work hard to make sure that Oakley will continue to grow and remain a great place for us to live. I have a connection with the district office, and I feel like that is a valuable resource for enhancing our communication with the Oakley Union School District, and it will allow us to work together on some solutions when challenges arise, such as new developments. The school board is also a dedicated group of professionals who want the best for our community, and we have a great school board that works for our school district. I promise to you, if I'm elected city council, to listen to our neighbors' needs and to work together to make positive changes. I actually never thought that I would run for city council. My experience with being a council person is I was in city council when I was in seventh grade. I volunteered, I've always volunteered, I've always given back, I've always been helping with the highway cleanups, with the Navy Marine Corps Relief Society, but never in public office. But I decided to step up. This kind of happened to me the same way when I decided to become the president for the Oakley Union Teachers Association. I decided to step up, and we accomplished a lot in a lot of positive ways to benefit not only the staff, but most importantly, the students. I believe that I can provide our residents with transparency, continued transparency, and I will collaborate to make Oakley a great place for us to live. I am grateful for your support, and I hope to earn your vote. Remember, early voting has already started. Check your mailboxes. Mine just came today. It was a kind of surreal moment to see my name on the ballot next to the president. So I'm definitely keeping that. But I really hope that I win. So please get out there and vote and encourage your neighbors to vote. And if you have any further questions, please reach out to me. I'm on Facebook. My Facebook name is Christina Peña Langley. Thank you for your time.
Okay, George, you next, reverse order. Your closing statement. You have 3 minutes.
Yes, first I want to thank the press. I've always been impressed. I know something about Mr. Robinson. We came from the same area at one time, but Mr. Robinson has kept news in the community going and kept this a community of sharing information in a professional manner. And I want to thank him. I want to thank the chamber for also. I am a member, so if you're wondering, but I do want to thank him. I want to thank Dr. Hall for looking through this and getting the questions out. And there's a Mr. Eckert in the back. I won't say though. He's from the flooring and linoleum in local 16, I think it is. The local 16, and I'm happy that he's here to join us. So thank you. I want to continue in new directions. When Mr. Chico referred to me as some cranky old dude that argued, he added a few minutes later that the reconstitution is not working. it's not there, we have to go back. And so I guess he wants to go back to drive-throughs, McDonald's, and car washes, and secrecy, and the former city manager, but that's on tape, and that surprised me because I want to keep it moving forward. I want us to go in the direction that we have been, to continue on, to be, work in a way that we can enhance it. We went through the pandemic and we survived. I think that's a credit. And to go through that and to continue on with what we're doing and to keep it moving forward is very important to me, to go through it. The new horizons, again, we have labor, we have the library, we have to reorient our priorities for the library and those things of that nature. We need to make sure there's no new taxes. We need to make sure that we are able to work on our own. If you want to look at Bard Regional, look at Bard. You pay taxes for Bard, even though Contra Costa County voted against it, because San Mateo and Santa Clara voted for it, and they overwhelmed us. So money's coming out of your pocket, out of the regional, to finance Bard, even though you don't want it. I'm not a big one on regional. I don't think we get there. So I want to continue on with diversity, equity, and inclusion, keep people going, get people working in the community, and get off of the idea of a power elite and involve everyone in the community without marginalization.
Thank you, Alexi. Next, closing statement.
All right, as a member of the Oakley Power Elite, I would like to give a big shout out to Oakley Chamber and the press. You guys have done an amazing job. I know you have one more coming up next week, so thank you for doing this, keeping all your readers informed, the viewers, all of our communities informed. Thank you to our moderator and the staff, amazing staff that has been helping out today. And most importantly, thanks to all of you who are watching us tonight, either in person or online. Look, you have 3 candidates. The ballots already have dropped. You have opportunity to vote. Please do it. I think it's an amazing privilege. Look, I'm telling you this as a first-generation immigrant, right? Sitting here in front of you is such a big deal for me. You have no idea. Look, I came to this country with just a backpack and a few T-shirts when I was 19 years old, and look at me. I'm sitting here in front of all of you, and doing this truly for one simple reason. This country, this state, and this city has been so incredible to me, and I just want to give back. There's nothing more I would love to do is to kind of pay it back for everyone who has been there for me, and this city has become a home. As a military brat, my family moved so much, it was really hard to say where home is, right? But I can tell you right now, with absolute certainty, that Oakley is my home, home for my family, and I'm doing this for my kids, for their peers. I want them, like I said, to have an Oakley that is better. I want to look forward. I believe we can attract new job opportunities here, completely new ones that we don't even can imagine yet at the moment, but it will take a council that is positive, that works together as a team, a council that actually respects and values the single most important asset that the city has, and it is actually our city staff. So there are a lot of them are present here today. I would like to thank them for doing an incredible job, in many ways doing God's work and doing miracles in our city, right? So thanks to them, thanks to our police force, first responders, we have a great place. We all enjoy it. Let's make it even better. Thank you.
Let's give everyone a big round of applause. This is wonderful. And I want to thank you all, the audience, for joining us this evening. They delivered as requested. They had a respectful and informative discussion that's very important for the community to stay informed. I want to wish them all good luck, and all of y'all drive safely, and we'll see you at the election. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
I know, right?